All right, guys, I just did all I do, and I'm still getting over pneumonia, so bear with me here, but we're here for Lost in the Moment. The title seems like it could just be more of like an emotional, like connective, relative track. So we'll see what NF decides to do here. I think we might be wrapping up therapy session. I'm excited to get into perception, but let's get right into it, see what we got.
Maybe the last sunset I'll see, I'll take it in, I'll take it in. This may be the last day that I'll breathe, so I'll breathe it in, I'll breathe it in.
I heard that pictures don't change, just the people inside of them do. Whoever told you that life would be easy, I promise that person was lying to you. You got a problem with following through, that's why I got a problem with following you. You keep looking at me like this problem is new, but we've been here before, what you trying to do? Don't talk to me like I don't know what you're feeling, cause I was there with you back in the beginning. Quit looking away when I talk, let me finish. I'm trying to be honest, you're trying to forget me. What's wrong with you, hey? I know that you got a lot on your plate. You keep telling me I should get out of your way, but I can't see how you gon' lie to my face. Don't tell me you're fine, cause I know you're not, so don't even try. And what we gon' live in this life full of pain that we're 80, and one day we'll get up and say we regretted our lives. That's where we're going. Do not pretend like you don't even notice. Funny thing is that you already know it. I'm starting to think that you like how it feels to be lost in a moment.
Wow. So it almost seems like he's talking about a relationship he's inside of, and he's talking about regret and some of the relationship struggles that they're having, and it almost sounds. I've heard a few NF tracks where he kind of talks about like the inner workings of a relationship, and it sounds like they're fighting a bit and they're going back and forth. I'm interested to see where this goes, but he's saying it's almost sounding like we're going to end up waking up one day and regretting our whole lives. That's an important thing to think about, because it's like, you definitely have to be careful with who you choose to spend your, not just in a romantic relationship, but just platonic friendships, your homies, your girlfriends, your whatever. It's like, there are a lot of people in the world, and your connection with somebody might be real, but is that going to be beneficial to the way who you want to be and what you want to become over the course of your life? And are you going to wake up and regret being in that relationship? So important stuff.
To think that you like how it feels to be lost in a moment.
Lost in the moment, lost in the moment, lost in the moment, and get lost, lost in the moment, lost in the moment, lost in the moment.
Yeah. They told us that time flies, didn't know what it means. Now I feel like we're just running around trying to catch it and hoping to cut up its wings, but that ain't gonna happen. Joy, when is the last time we had it? I don't remember, cause all that we do is go backwards, and that's what you get when you live in the past. And I know we're breathing, but we're not alive.
Wow. So he's saying that we're basically just chasing time, and hang on, let me go back, because I think that was a good line.
Hoping to cut up its wings, but that ain't gonna happen. Joy, when is the last time we had it? I don't remember, cause all that we do is go backwards, and that's what you get when you live in the past. And I know
all we do is go backwards, and that's what happens when you live in the past. It's hard. I'll say this too, for a romantic relationship, when you're, so like, I won't say too much, but I live with my girlfriend. And she's got a 5-year-old stepdaughter. Well, she's my stepdaughter. She's got a 5-year-old daughter, and I told her I wasn't going to talk about it on the channel, so I won't say too much. But I will say, in a romantic relationship, when you're living so close together, there's a lot of difficulty in moving forward with something, and I don't mean necessarily even with fights. I mean, like, you start to think you know that person, and then you treat them like that person, and then if they want to make a change, it can be more difficult to make that change if your perception of them is just this static, singular human being. And so that goes both ways, and that's a difficult dynamic to be aware of in a relationship, because if one person says like, well, I want to add this to my routine, let's just say like working out, because a lot of people work out or whatever. If they want to add that to their routine, and then, add like, I don't know, salad 3 times a week or something to their routine, you might have this idea of who they are, and then you might even, like, there's all these different dynamics of, you might even start judging yourself based off of their ability to change, and then you might even like subconsciously try to keep that person the same, which damages them. And man, there's so many different dynamics in intimate relationships that it's hard. I mean, what percentage of marriages end in divorce? And incredibly, I want to say it's at least 50%. I would imagine nowadays it's even higher. But the chances of a marriage succeeding is lower than it not succeeding. And so that's an important thing to realize, is that it doesn't matter how smart you are. It doesn't matter how much money you have. It doesn't matter. Like these metrics aren't the predictor of a successful relationship. Personally, I think clear communication and vulnerability with how you're feeling and why you're feeling, but also self-examination. Because let's say, your significant other makes a comment about something and they didn't mean it in a certain way, but if you communicate to them like, oh, this is how that made me feel, that's a good thing. But at the end of the day, you also have to do that self-examination to say like, well, is this my is this my significant other's problem? Because I feel is it their fault because I feel a certain way? And that's not always the case. But especially in intimate relationships, you tend to personalize a lot of things that don't necessarily need to be personalized. And you have to recognize that sometimes, like, you might be, like, we both work. I might be off at work and I have a certain kind of day and I'm joking around with, people at work, and then, she might have a really tough day, and then she comes home, she's tense, she's anxious. And then I'm good and I'm just kind of light and jovial, and then I might make a joke, and then that might, and it's vice versa. It's not, I'm not trying to air out any dirty laundry, but this is common relationship stuff. And I might make a joke, and then, it's taken the wrong way. And it's happened vice versa. Like it's not, I'm not trying to make this a real life example as like, oh, this happens. Because it happens both ways, where I'm super tense and then she's light and she'll make a joke and I'll just be like, man, that kind of pissed me off. I just realized I've been banging on. This isn't a podcast, it's a reaction channel, but it's true, and we all go through it. If you're in a relationship, even just family members or friends, like you go through that. Especially if you're living with family. Family's complicated, man, but let's keep going here.
We had it, I don't remember, cause all that we do is go backwards, but that's what you get when you live in the past. And I know we're breathing, but we're not alive. It really is just the way we wanna die. Until you got everything bottled inside. If they only knew what goes on in our mind. I know what you're thinking, so don't try to hide. And why do you look at me like you're surprised? You really mean what you're writing these lines? Why don't you fix it, cause I'm getting tired. Yeah, I can no longer do this. Ever since you fell in love with the music, and you find a way to express what you feel. But the moment that you get away from the mic, you don't know what you're doing.
Wow.
I don't know what's going on in your head, but eventually you'll have to deal with the things that you talk about, yeah. But I guess until then, we're lost.
That's huge, guys. So he's saying that his girlfriend basically, you said, it's like you can talk about it in the music. You can be vulnerable and dissect it in the music, but the second you walk away from the microphone, it's like you don't know how to behave. You don't know how to act. You don't know like what it is. And you don't know how to deal with it. And I remember doing Notepad, and he talks about how it's kind of like therapy for him. And so that's interesting that he's kind of airing that out in his relationship, where It sounds, I don't know if this is a narrative between his personal self and his artist self, or between a significant other and his artist self, and his personal self thrown in there. It could be taken a few different ways, honestly, but yeah, that's really interesting that he's aware enough that like this is a complaint, that like, hey, it's like I listen to your music, and it's like it's like you're very emotionally intelligent, and you walk away from that, and it's like you don't want to deal with the problems, you just want to talk about them. So that's interesting. Let's keep going though.
Lost in the moment, lost in the moment, lost in the moment, and get lost in the moment, lost in the moment, lost in the moment. Maybe the last sunset I'll see, I'll take it in. I'll take it in. This may be the last day that
We'll play it out, guys.
I'll breathe it in. I'll breathe it in.
So, I mean, even that hook is a really powerful hook, because, I mean, this might be, my last day on earth. I might die tomorrow. I might die today. And it's very hard to live in the moment. For me, it's easy to get lost in the moment, as far as just kind of like I'm not going to say it's easy. It's easier to get lost in the moment to where you're there and you're present. But it's like, is anger or just like pure looseness dictating that, or are you living in it, where you're there, you're present, and you're calm, and you're conscientious of what you're doing and saying? For me, sometimes I get in a flow state, and I'm just like, I'm loose, and I'll say whatever, I'll do whatever. I mean, within reason. Like, I'm not like murdering people at the gas station because they pulled in front of me at the pump. Like, obviously, I'd be in jail. So, but there's time. It's interesting. Lost in the moment versus living in the moment. But, I mean, we all only have one life. And, so for some people, it's a really daunting idea that we're all going to die, like we're all going to die at some point. And some people, it's a little too daunting to digest. But for me, more often than not, it gives me, like, when I'm handling things well, it gives me power to know, like, oh, I'm going to die one day, so I'm going to make the most of it. And then sometimes things get so overwhelming that same fact of I'm going to die turns negative, and I'm like, man, I don't necessarily fixate on, I'm not one of those people that fixates on death, but like when things get a little too overwhelming, I'll hit a point and I'm like, man, it puts a negative spin on all the stuff that I've been able to put a positive spin on. So it's definitely difficult. I'll wrap this one up and we'll get right into the next one. You guys take care.